Hello, listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just before this episode gets underway, I just wanted to say a quick message, as I'm sure you can all appreciate the situation right now with the new coronavirus is moving very, very quickly. And so this episode was recorded about 2 days before publication. And in that time, as I'm sure you will all know, we've had the sad news that Eurovision 2020 has been cancelled entirely. So I apologise in advance for any reference to a potential Eurovision this year in this episode. We don't want to get anyone's hopes up. But in the meantime, please enjoy this episode of Europhoria.
Hello and welcome to Europhoria, a podcast where we look back on the great, glam and garish of Eurovision past. I'm Isobel Chilman and I'm joined, as ever, by a man so special to me that if we were deep sea divers, I'd give him my last breath. As soon as there's no longer a global pandemic to think about. It's Roland Bodnam!
Hi! Oh, that was very, very kind of you. That's very dear of you. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's okay. Putting my safety first, but you know.
Yes, of course. You
also
have to prioritise.
Yours, in terms of not getting
I'm
sick.
number 2, so that means a lot. Hi, we're back with everything we said last episode. We're actually back a lot sooner than we were planning on being back.
We are indeed. We've had a think. So, in the last episode, Roland and I did say we were only going to do a handful of episodes due to busy schedules and time differences. Roland is in New York. I am in London. In case you are listening for the first time, we're very cool people
global.
That live in... Well, yeah, we're global, man, whatever. We're just middle class.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
But a lot has changed since we last spoke. It is quite a scary time at the moment, with countries all over the world dealing with the impact of COVID-19. Myself and Roland actually both work for the same company in New York and London, which has now closed its offices globally, and we will both be social distancing over the coming weeks to ensure the safety of those in our communities at high risk of serious health issues caused by the new coronavirus. And I'm sure a lot of people are feeling quite anxious right now, me being one of them, and having some sort of respite from talking about and thinking about coronavirus is going to be absolutely necessary to prevent mental ill health as we all get through this. So, for the foreseeable, Europhoria is going to become a weekly podcast again.
Yeah. Wow, It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. So not only do we actually definitely have the time to do this as we're both quarantined to our flats, but I think it will help my anxiety to know that at least once a week I'm going to have a fun chat with my best mate. And hopefully we can bring some sort of joy to your lives right now too, whether you're self-isolating, unwell, or feeling understandably worried about what's going on right now.
And we're not necessarily, we can't promise every week we'll have a full story and full song. It's quite nice, actually, because we're thinking, we'll be able to change it up a bit, and we might be able to look back on old songs and talk about those and do some more kind of free-flowing episodes as well. But our main thing is, as you say, it goes both ways. We really enjoy doing these things, and we know, from communications we've had from you guys that you enjoy listening, and really, our skills aren't necessarily that helpful in a global pandemic. So what we can offer, which is a little bit of light respite from unending messages of seeming, doom and gloom, we will offer to you guys from the safety of our own home. So hopefully we can do that over the coming weeks and perhaps months, depending on how long it is. One, that the pandemic lasts, and two, when Eurovision is potentially pushed back to as well.
Poor love, Eurovision.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. I think we're going to have some fun over the coming weeks. And if any of you, would like to reach out to us to say hi or to suggest some new stuff that we could talk about, we would love to hear from you. When in a time of increasing isolation and social distancing, I think it's a nice thing to be able to reach out to one another. So let's throw that out at the very start. You can email us at europhoriapodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us on Twitter at EuphoriaCast or at Isobel Chilman or at Roland Bodnam. We're both on Twitter.
Yeah, we are. I need to stop looking at it as much because at the moment I'm just infinite scrolling. Terrible.
I've taken all social media off my phone now because I keep checking it and it's not good. So I've decided to take it all off. I'm allowed to check the news a couple of times a day for updates. If I need to contact any of my friends, I have their phone numbers and we can talk on WhatsApp and I can communicate in that way. I had to tell my boyfriend yesterday he had to put his phone down. I've had to ban him from using his phone yesterday because it's too easy to get extremely anxious about things that absolutely, am I not belittling what's going on right now, but you look at Facebook too much, or you look at Instagram or Twitter. Are you looking at posts from medical health professionals? No, you are looking at posts from Sandra who lives up the street who thinks she knows about germs. So don't look at that stuff too much. Just keep yourself safe.
And even if you are, even if you are looking at reputable news sites, which I like to think I do, you're looking at the same thing over and over again. So, look at it once, twice a day, get the information that you need. And we're all figuring it out as we go along.
And I don't know where in the world this is accessible apart from the UK. So apologies if I'm making a recommendation that you can't watch in your country. But apart from our wonderful, lovely podcast that will make you very happy during these slightly sad times, if you do need a pick-me-up, just watch The Undateables. I've only recently started watching it and it brings so much joy to my life. God. It makes me so happy. You forget about everything terrible that's happening in the world because it is just joyful people falling in love and being kind to each other. And I sobbed watching an episode of it earlier because it made me too happy. And I can't, and then I keep watching it on repeat and it makes me cry again.
Well, if you can't find The Undateables, find something that makes you happy and consume it till there's nothing left. And actually, one thing that we get to do, which I'm very excited about, is this week we are doing a proper full episode. For the first time in a long time, we are doing news, we are doing emails, we are doing story, we are doing song. But the first thing that we are doing, which I am quite excited about as well, is Isobel. You've already got something, but I would like a lovely glass of red wine. I am going to be drinking today a lovely bottle of Barolo from Italy.
Italians. I'm thinking of all my beautiful Italian brothers and sisters right now.
I know. You spent quite a lot of time over there now, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit. My poor Italian boyfriend is having a horrible time. I did text him earlier and said, I texted him about an hour ago saying, can you send me something lovely in Italian for me to say on the podcast to all of our listeners? And he just texts back saying, something nice like what? What?
Good,
what do you think?
Good,
Come on. Something nice like what? Okay.
Come on. What have you got? What are you drinking, mate? You told me earlier, and I want everyone to know for shame. That
it's not a shame. I'm not ashamed.
Go on.
I'm drinking a Bloody Mary.
at 8 o'clock in the evening. I don't think
it's
you can have
8:30 p.m. But it's juice. It's vitamins.
Sure,
I thought it's good.
Yeah.
It's better than anything else.
I agree. And vodka, clean, isn't it? All right. I'm gonna
really
do a pop.
Clean, yeah.
I'm going to do a pop. You ready?
Oh, good pop.
Good glug. Hang on, let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Oh, cheers. And cheers to you all out there.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well. So let's move on and move across to a lovely section, which is our lovely listener emails. Yay! We have a lovely email today. Someone who was very quick off the mark and emailed us almost as soon as our episode went out last week. And the subject line of this email is "Missed you!" ! Exclamation mark. It reads, "Hey lovelies, you can't believe how happy I was when I saw there was a new episode finally. I've recently moved to a new city where I don't know anyone, so spending all my time on Reddit and YouTube has made my obsession with Eurovision even stronger this year. This is probably my favourite year of Eurovision since 2017. It's so unpredictable who is going to win, and I can't choose which song is my number one. In my top ones are Iceland, Lithuania, Switzerland, Germany, and Ukraine. I can actually agree this year with your sentiment, Isobel. No way, Norway. By the way, I totally understand that you can't do the podcast as much anymore, but we are all used to the agonizing wait from May to September anyways, so you guys are well worth waiting for. Thanks!
Oh, that's so kind.
And now we're doing it even more than we have for the last 2 years anyway, so it all...
Hell yeah, we're back. There's one good thing out of a pandemic. It's that me and Roland talk more.
Lots of love, Hilda, from the continent of Europe and the country of Norway. Thank you so much, Hilda.
Thanks, Hilda. It's good as well to hear a Norwegian being honest about their own entry.
Norway. Yes,
I very much appreciate that, Hilda.
Hilda then does say a PS and says, "Roland, would love to hear your take on a corona pandemic in a song." Fairly says situation just got so serious here, I need some laughs. I agree, but that might be one of the most sort of minefieldy topics for a song that I could choose. So I think I may be steering clear of that for the time being, at least until things blow over. But maybe a song
people
about
stop dying.
Yeah, right. Maybe a song like about self-isolation, maybe, but
that's fun. Yeah, now that's the fun. That's the fun element.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't want to. We are. I think to make a point, we are going to do our best to be sensitive about this topic, but we are. We're not going to be serious the whole time. But I think we're probably going to avoid jokes about coronavirus. Or do our best to.
For now. Now. Yeah.
All right. So that's our news and our emails, Isobel. Are you ready to go into a lovely story?
Oh my goodness. When was the last time we had a Eurovision story?
Ooh, it might have been April even. I mean, maybe early May, April. Do you remember it was that one about that woman and the Nazis?
Oh my god, yeah.
It was quite a story.
I need to go back and re-listen to some of the episodes.
Yeah.
My brain doesn't keep any information. I mean, just generally in life, there's nothing in here much. I did one of those good dad jokes earlier with my boyfriend where I knocked my head and then I knocked the wall at the same time, so it sounded hollow. He loved that.
Good dad joke.
I loved that one. Great dad joke. That one, isn't it? Give that one a go if you've not tried it before. So I forget all the stories. I forget all the stuff. So I need to go back and listen to some of them.
So, in a time of sort of quite high anxiety and nervousness, I have decided to do perhaps one of the most anxiety-ridden stories that I've ever written on this show. So I apologise in advance, but it's quite a story. So we'll see how we get before either of us has a nervous breakdown. So firstly, for this story, I just want to obviously credit, obviously Wikipedia, because that's just great for everything.
Always Wikipedia, always.
But I also found a lot of the information from this story from an Italian blog by a guy called Gavino Minuti. So you can find that blog at gavinominuti.blogspot.com. So thank you for that, Gavino. Okay, let's begin. Dori Ghezi was born on the 30th of March 1946 in a small province in the north of Italy. And as seemingly with all of our Eurovision stars, she began singing at a very early age. In 1966, she began competing in various singing competitions throughout Italy and made her Sanremo debut in 1970, performing the song Occhi a Mandoria as a duet with a singer called Rossano. Unfortunately, the song failed to qualify for the finals, but that didn't scupper Dori's ambitions, and over the next few years, she continued making music, often covering popular French and British songs. 2 years later, she met an American-born R&B singer called Wes, who suggested... Wes. It's W-E-S... W-E-S-S. W-E-S-S.
That's the worst. That's the worst performer name I've ever heard.
Wes. W-E-S-S.
Terrible.
Wes. Wes. So yes, the pair found success with their very first song, which was a song,
with Wes.
Success with Wes. They found success with their first song called Voglio star con te, which, Isabel, I know you've been practicing. Do you know what that means? No.
My Italian is worse now than it was before I started dating an Italian.
Oh, no. I'll tell you what it means. It means united we stand.
Shut up.
United we stand. Yeah, united we stand. Not quite united we dance, but very close.
Oh, yeah, that was your one.
Yeah. After finding success with that song, they produced a string of hits together. Now, there was no romantic connection with the pair, although fans and reviewers at the time said that they had a great chemistry.
They're like us.
A bit like us, Isabel.
Us.
All the reviewers and fans say great chemistry. In fact, in 1974, Dori met a man named Fabrizio De André, who was well on his way to cementing himself as a legend in Italian popular music. The year after she met Fabrizio, in 1975, Wes and Dori were selected to represent Italy in that year's Eurovision Song Contest, which was being held in Stockholm, Sweden, following ABBA's win with Waterloo in 74. So
yes.
The song they entered was actually a fairly contemporary number called Era, which means it was, where the singers...
I could have told you that one.
Oh, you could have. Okay, sorry.
I could have told you that one, yeah.
Feel free to jump in whenever you're just... Hey, it was.
Grazie, I will.
Okay. And the song was the singers describing how different they feel now they're in a relationship together and remembering how it was when they very first fell in love. Lines like kissing at the movies, finding a hidden corner, blushing in public, talking in secret code, etc., etc. I mean, you know how it is, Isabel, right? Hiding in corners and back of the cinema.
Hiding in corners? Oh, this was the 70s, 60s.
Yeah, hiding in corners. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Back of the cinema,
I just like... just snogging in public.
Oh, do you? I had an encounter in the back of a cinema at a Harry Potter film once. That was... You don't often talk about...
How old were you?
Quite... Well, I think it was like the third Harry Potter film, so I wasn't old. I was in secondary school. Anyway.
Do you know, I once went... This is, you know, one of those moments that will stay with you for the rest of your life.
Sure.
Such as an encounter in the back of the Harry Potter movie.
Right, yeah, that will.
I once went to go see the Dreamcatcher, I think it was called, a Stephen King. What's the word?
Adaptation,
a Stephen King adaptation, which is not a book that I'd read before. But I went with a group of friends from school. I was maybe 14 years old, and went with my ex-boyfriend, a boy called Matthew. I think he was my first boyfriend, but he was your ex at the
time. Oh, you'd just broken up.
He was my ex at the time. We'd just broken up. Nothing really had happened between the two of us. We were only kids. But I really fancied his friend Liam, who also came to the cinema. I I didn't mean to sit in between them, but they positioned themselves on either side of me.
Isobel.
Halfway through the film, Liam started holding my hand and I had to like pull my knees up into my seat to hide it from Matthew. And then on the other side of me, about 10 minutes later, Matthew then started holding my other hand.
No.
Horror. The horror.
Oh my
It was... Honestly, my cheeks are going red right now thinking about it. I was probably 13, 14 years old when this happened. Definitely 13, 14.
Oh my God.
And it was the most horrifying moment of my entire life.
I bet if you watched Stephen King's Dreamcatcher now, you would have like flashbacks to that moment.
I have flashbacks right now. I can vividly remember this happening. Spoiler, I did end up going out with Liam for a little while afterwards.
Good for you.
Yeah,
he made a move and, fair enough. Anyway, enough about dalliances in the back of the cinema. Would you like to take a listen to Dori, Jezzy and Wes's Era?
Yes, please. That
it's nice, isn't it? It's got some fun
very
to it.
My boyfriend's not going to be happy with me saying this, but because Italians don't like I'm sorry to any Italians listening, but basically Italians don't like you talking shit about Italy in any sense.
Yeah, okay.
But to say that's 1975 and they have a white woman and a black man singing on stage, I am actually very impressed by that. Italy,
very progressive.
Not so great with the racism normally.
No, okay, well, there we go. Very, very progressive at the time. And I think actually it was quite, it felt, I mean, obviously not contemporary now, but it did seem quite sort of contemporary and... it's quite a good song. So actually, on the night itself, the song did do really well. It got 12 points from Monaco and 10 points each from Switzerland, Yugoslavia, United Kingdom, Malta, and Portugal, as well as loads of others. It did so well, in fact, that Italy was in contention for the top of the board. However, that year, the hot competition was the Netherlands with the song Ding a Dong, which, as we know, eventually won out, leaving Italy in third place behind the United Kingdom in second. So, when the lights went down on the Eurovision stage, the pair did continue to perform together, and Dori Ghezzi's relationship with the legendary singer Fabrizio grew. In 1977, Dori gave birth to her first child with Fabrizio, and they decided to buy a 151-hectare plot of land on the northeast side of the island of Sardinia. Ooh. There, they converted an old farmhouse nestled at the bottom of a valley into a family home.
Oh, lovely.
It was lovely. It was a place which Fabrizio described as magical and said, "It gives me so much joy to the soul. Even when you come home destroyed by fatigue, it satisfies you and leaves no room for concern. Living this dimension is the simplest, but also the deepest way to live this land." Sounds all right, doesn't it?
Does sound all right. That's basically what Danny wants to do. Just
there you
move to
go.
Sardinia.
Okay, well, maybe listen to the rest of this story before you decide to go with him.
All right.
Okay. So, it does sound very nice, though. It does sound very nice, and it's a different time. So, the three settled in very happily and lived very peacefully, often hosting friends and family members over the course of the next few years.
What happened to Wes?
They still, I don't know, he's somewhere else, but they're still performing together. But, he didn't move in with them. That would be weird.
Well, that's what I thought you meant. Didn't
no,
you
the
say
three
the
was
three
the
of them?
baby. No, he's in the granny annex just to come out when they're ready to perform. Hey, Wes, come out. Got a song. No, it was the baby. Wes is off somewhere else. So, during the weekend of August 25th, 1979, Dori and Fabrizio were hosting Dori's parents, sister and brother-in-law and their children as well as friends. Everyone was having a wonderful weekend. However, all was not as it seemed. If you were an attendee of this gathering and glanced out of the window to see the bushes around the farmhouse and happened to see them rustling or movement between the tree trunks, you'd have been forgiven for assuming that this would have been one of the wild donkeys, deer, or sheep native to Sardinia. However, if you were to investigate further, you would have seen that there were no donkeys and sheep in the woods at all, and it was in fact a group of 3 men, all with hoods over their faces, watching the building through binoculars.
What is this story, Roland?
Okay.
What?
By the evening of the 27th of August, the guests began to make their way home, with Dory's parents taking her daughter Luvi to spend some time with them at their home. By around 8 p.m, the couple were left alone in their home. After tidying up and eating dinner, it was 11 p.m. and the couple were getting ready for bed. Dory was out on the balcony on her own when she heard someone running up the stairs in heavy shoes. Knowing that neither her or Fabrizio wore shoes inside the house, she stepped in from the balcony to see what was happening. It was at this point where she was attacked by 2 armed men with hoods covering their faces. Dory saw a third man holding Fabrizio at bay by aiming a rifle at him. The pair were told to lie on their fronts, and their hands were tied behind their backs, and blindfolds were placed over their eyes. They were then led out of the back of the house and put into the back of their car, with 2 of the bandits either side and the third driving.
Right, this has got real messed up real quickly.
Yeah, it turned into like a weird horror film.
This better have a happy ending, Roland. That's all I'm saying.
I don't want to send everyone to bed with like, just a really, really, really heavy story.
We started doing the podcast again for positivity reasons.
I know. I'm so sorry. I wrote this before all of this happened. I wrote this a while ago. But let's keep going. Okay. So,
if it gets real bad, I'm eating a clementine at the moment. We'll just turn it into an ASMR podcast.
Okay, yeah, we'll just all calmly, just talk very, very quietly. So, for about an hour and a half, the car and all of its inhabitants drove, alternating between rough, disused tracks and asphalt roads, until it eventually came to a stop at the side of a track. Dory and Fabrizio heard a 4th voice, who they realised was a co-conspirator of the bandits. This new bandit took control and told the pair to begin walking into the wild, overgrown brush. Dory explained, "We got out of the car for good and started the journey on foot through the countryside that alternated between steep and flat and then steep sections, between brushes and brambles, with hooded heads. We walked for about 2 hours. After a rest stop, we resumed the transfer and even more rough paths, walking for a few more hours, after which, exhausted, we stopped, spending the night in the open air. The journey resumed the following day, following an entirely uphill path until dusk, when we reached our destination. They took off our masks for the first time, and the shape of the hooded bandits appeared before our eyes." So at the same time, some 43 kilometres away, in the coastal town of Olbia, traffic police found Dory.
I've been there.
Have you? Olbia?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you might know it then. So traffic police found Dory and Fabrizio's car abandoned along a pier. Have you been to it? Did you go on a pier?
No.
Okay. Inside the car was a full bottle of whiskey and a pack of cigarettes which matched the brand that Fabrizio smoked. Because that year had seen a spate of kidnappings in Sardinia, the police were quick to correctly assume that what they had on their hands was yet another kidnapping. Their investigation led them to a man who had, in the 3 months prior to the kidnapping, recounted drunkenly in a bar how he had been recruited by a gang of men to act as an information gatherer in the build-up to the event. Through this man, they were able to get a fairly accurate picture of everything up to the point of the kidnapping, despite still not knowing.
This sounds like the storyline of Fargo.
Is there a kidnapping in Fargo? Yeah, there is, isn't there?
That's the whole point of Fargo, is the kidnapping.
Well, what's the buried gold? There's no buried gold. Well, there's a fortune.
There is buried gold. The whole Fargo.
No,
the whole
I know
point
in
of
Fargo there is. There's no buried
Oh.
gold in this story, though.
Well, you've ruined it now. I didn't know that.
Oh, shit, damn it.
There could have been.
I mean, there's money, but it's kidnapping, isn't it? It's kidnapping. They're a format because they work, or they don't, but yeah, it's kidnapping. It's kidnapping.
Sorry, continue.
So anyway, yeah. So they got an accurate picture of everything up to the point of kidnapping, but they still didn't know exactly who these men were. Meanwhile, Fabrizio and Dory remained in the location that they had hiked to for a week, with dense thickets seemingly all the way to the horizon. They had no idea where they were. Their captor stayed with them the entire time, and the pair nicknamed him the Toad because of his croaky voice. Love it. The Toad.
Gutted, mate.
Seriously, the Toad.
You go into crime, you get into the mafia, whatever. You think, I'm going to get a really cool nickname. And then you kidnap two people and they start calling you the Toad and it sticks for life.
You're like, oh, guys, can you call me something cooler, please? Please, guys. Guys,
No, you're the
Toad. Every evening, a member of the gang arrived to bring food and clothing. After a week of investigation, the police learned that Fabrizio's father had received a letter from the bandits, which demanded 2 billion lire in return for Dory and Fabrizio's safe release. Now,
how much is that?
So it's about, with inflation, about £2.7 million.
Wow.
It's not cheap.
No.
And they had also threatened Fabrizio's father so that he wouldn't go to the authorities, which is why it took so long for the police to actually find out that they'd reached out to Fabrizio's father. So, Fabrizio's family commissioned a lawyer to lead the negotiations. The lawyer then asked a local priest to act as emissary during the negotiations. And together with a forest ranger, so we've now got a lawyer,
What?
a priest, and a forest ranger. Sounds like a joke.
It's Italian YMCA. It's the Italian village people.
The forest ranger and the priest agreed to meet the kidnappers in the countryside of Arune. The kidnappers brought with them a newspaper clipping with signatures of the prisoners, which showed that they were in good health, or at the very least, alive. After initial greetings, the priest tried to convince the bandits to reduce the amount of money they were asking for, as Fabrizio's family was unable to raise such a large sum of money. However, the attempt at mediation failed, and the priest and forest ranger returned empty-handed. After this failed negotiation, Dory and Fabrizio were moved once more. Weeks passed. Late summer began to turn into autumn, and the temperatures began to drop. Dory explained, "When the cold season began, they equipped us with a small tent to protect us from the weather. The information they gave us was that Fabrizio's father didn't want to pay the ransom. They offered to free Fabrizio so that he could pay the ransom himself, or conversely, to free me so that I could persuade Fabrizio's father to pay for his release. The bandits had us bound with chains so that we would not run away. One of the bandits, who occasionally came to check on our conditions, recommended that the caretakers treat them well. And he communicated in correct and well-mannered Italian, expressing himself calmly and kindly. So Fabrizio gave him the nickname, the lawyer." It is like he gets a well-vetted. Meanwhile, the Toad, or whatever his name is, like,
Livid.
"Guys, he got a cool name. Why
Livid.
can't I have a cool name?" Toad over there.
Imagine being stuck with the Toad.
Meanwhile, the lawyer's like, "Hey, all right, guys, how's it going?"
All he had to do was turn up and speak politely.
Yeah.
Got a
And you
better
got the lawyer.
nickname.
Yeah. So more than 2 months had passed since the day of the seizure. Late autumn arrived, which means cold and rain in the mountains of Patada. The chill of long autumn nights on those mountains bites the bones, preventing the limbs from performing their function and the mind from thinking. Tensions were rising even between the gang members themselves, and these rises between the two factions made any attempts to negotiate with them increasingly difficult and fragmented. In early November, after a long silence and moments of tension, a second attempt at mediation began, which involved new emissaries. After a series of agreed signals, the emissaries met at the agreed place in Orune. The meeting took place in a calm way, which, however, was followed by a second. This time, the tensions were very high, and the bandits threatened to kill the hostages if the family members had not decided to pay the amount of 300 million immediately as an advance. Other meetings followed, all unsuccessful. After a period of stagnation, contacts resumed again with the original priest and Giulio Carta, who was a wealthy trader from Orune, who was directly contacted by telephone by the bandits. The pair's attempts this time finally led to a breakthrough, and the kidnappers, exhausted themselves, agreed to the release of the hostages with the payment of 550 million lira.
So how much is that?
So that is a quarter of that. So it's about £700,000. So still a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long have they been kidnapped for now?
2 and a bit months, I think. Maybe 3 months at this point.
Jeez.
Living in a tent on top of a mountain. So
I'm not going to feel so bad about self-isolation.
No,
now.
I know. Seriously, you've got Bloody Marys and cream crackers.
All the carbs I could ever need.
Yeah, absolutely. So they agreed to 550 million with a commitment that once freed, Fabrizio would pay another 50 million. This is a commitment that the priest made by giving his word, which I'm sure as a priest in that time, in that place, means a lot.
A priest now in Italy, their word is still gospel.
So it was understood that Fabrizio would pay this money once he returned to his house, and in fact, he did. So the deal was on, and the bandits agreed to pick up the money from the wealthy trader Giulio Carta. He went to the agreed location at the agreed time and was met by the bandits, who took the money from him. However, during the later investigation by the police, it was discovered that Giulio Carta, the wealthy trader, had kept for himself 50 million lira.
Shut up. That's how the rich get richer, mate. That's how the rich get richer. They steal from other people.
Scumbag businessmen are always going to be scumbag businessmen. And scums. And so now was the bandits' turn to keep up their end of the deal and release the prisoners. Dory explained, on December 20th, so this is now getting on to like 4 months, on December 20th, my captor told me that they had decided to free us. Around 3 p.m, after eating bread and cheese, we walked on foot along a stretch of very steep terrain with masks over my eyes. 2 bandits accompanied me. We walked for at least 3 hours. We passed near a waterfall, then crossed a river. I could hear the barking of dogs, I presume near a cottage or perhaps a sheepfold. We waited for many, many hours near a road hidden in the bushes until late at night. At around 11 p.m, a car finally arrived, which loaded us on board. I was always with my hands tied and masked, supervised by the 2 bandits. After a bit of road, maybe half an hour, Dory was released into the care of the priest who had been leading the negotiations.
Wow.
On the night of Dory's release, Fabrizio stayed in the tent for some hours with his captor. The following day, he left the refuge in the early afternoon after the bandits had cleaned the place of all traces of their presence. Fabrizio followed the paths walked the day before by Dory. After a few hours of walking in the company of his caretaker, they reached an asphalt road. He was told to wait until they would come and get him to accompany him home. After a few hours of waiting, the emissary, who was Giulio Carta, made him get in the back seat of the car. He took Fabrizio to the house in Portobello, where all of Fabrizio's family members awaited. The bandits now had the money and began the process of laundering it through several businesses throughout the country. One kidnapper turned to a merchant from San Teodoro to make use of the money in his commercial activity for a high percentage of compensation. Another made a deal with a Tuscan vet to clean up the money.
A what?
A vet, like a pet vet, like a veterinarian, not a veteran. A vet.
A Tuscan vet.
Those vets, they're connections in high places, aren't they?
That is a sneaky way. You'd never suspect a vet to be doing dodgy things.
You'd never suspect a vet.
Never suspect a vet.
They love animals, don't they?
My old vet was Italian. Maybe he was a money launderer.
Was that the one who
I fancied?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll confidently say that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pre boyfriend.
Yeah,
it's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was a very handsome man.
Nice. Yeah.
Married. But he held my cat like a baby, and it was the beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Knew how to handle his animals.
Oh, yeah.
March 11th, 1980 was a turning point in the investigation. Police arrested the veterinarian Marco Cesari, who had paid the amount of 13 million lire into the Banca Popolare di Chiusi. He initially declared that he had no knowledge of the kidnapping, giving a very vague and bad excuse for why he had that huge amount of money. However,
someone's Alsatian had a series of serious injuries.
I had to replace every bone in the Alsatian's body with gold, so it cost that much money.
Yeah, unless you're dealing with like a Saint Bernard with brittle bone syndrome, there's no reason to have that much.
So, when pressed and faced with a mountain of evidence, he ended up admitting his responsibilities, giving rise, with his confession,
I can hear that glugging.
Oh, you can, yeah. Sorry,
yeah, it's
that's
nice.
my next glass.
No, I like that.
Giving rise with his confession to the identification and capture of all of the members of the gang.
Little snitch.
So here we go. Sentencing. This is 3 years later now. On March 20th, 1983, Judge Mario Gabella pronounced the sentence of conviction against 12 defendants involved in the kidnapping.
Wow.
10 for kidnapping and 2 for minor crimes. The gang was made up of shepherds, a butcher, but also prominent people such as the Tuscan vet Marco Cesari.
Shepherds, butcher,
butcher,
shepherds,
priest,
butchers, priests, vets, lawyers, toads,
forest ranger.
Forest ranger, I forgot the forest ranger.
Forest ranger.
And a Eurovision singer.
This absolutely should be a Coen Brothers movie. Like all of those, Fargo is Coen Brothers. It just feels like
this is better than Fargo.
The cast would be so good. It would be amazing. So let's go through sentencing because we like to prove that if you do bad shit, you get put down. So Marco Cesari was sentenced to 9 years in prison. He would have got more, but he benefited from cuts in sentencing due to the fact that he collaborated with police. Salvatore Maras, who was the mastermind and organizer of the kidnapping, was also sentenced to 9 years and 10 months, which was reduced again because he also collaborated with the police investigation. Graziano Pietro Pozzu and Giovanni Mangia, both from Oruno, and were both part of the first kidnapping group where they did the home invasion, were both sentenced to 25 years and 8 months. Martino Morodu and Francesco Giuseppe Palla respectively received 20 years and 2 months of imprisonment and 18 years and 6 months. Pietro Guerra, the group's cashier, was sentenced to 16 years and 10 months in prison. Iat Carmelo was sentenced to 16 years and 10 months in prison, and then penalties from 4 to 5 years were inflicted respectively on the two who were accused of the crime of money laundering. And finally, 3 years for the scumbag businessman Julio Carter, who is the guy who retained the ransom for himself. See, you get your comeuppance.
Good.
So Dory and Fabrizio recovered from their ordeal and remained married until Fabrizio's death in 1999. Fabrizio was cremated along with a pack of cigarettes and a scarf of his favourite football team, which seems like the most Italian thing you could ever do.
Pack of fags and a football scarf.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, that's either very Italian or very northern.
It is very northern, one of the two. Two in the same, really.
You could be from Sardinia or Barnsley. One or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. One or the other. His ashes were spread off the coast of Genoa in the Ligurian Sea. Dory sadly had to stop singing in 1999 due to problems with her vocal cords. However, she is still with us today and is spending her time managing much of Fabrizio's estate and is living a quiet and peaceful life.
Oh, mate. That was
so
a
it turned out all right.
How did you find about that?
It was another one where I had to translate it all from Italian. There was no English articles or anything about this one.
How did you even get to that in the first place?
So this was me literally going through searching Eurovision 19 blah 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 and going year by year and just clicking on every single name until I came up with stories. This is where I was getting desperate towards the end. I think this was even towards the end of last season when we were thinking of doing some more after Eurovision.
Right, well, what year did you get up to? Because then I can start from the year after that.
This was 70, what was it? 74, 75. So you still got a few left after that.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, I have got a story that I think I'm going to tell next week, which is is Eurovision adjacent.
Sure. I feel like we got to give ourselves a little bit of. We're 55.
We've got to give ourselves some leeways. Plus, there's loads of really interesting stories to tell that maybe aren't connected to Eurovision, but are would still be interesting to a Eurovision crowd, if that makes sense. And I have this week found out about a singer that I think would be highly relevant and of extreme interest to the Eurovision crowd. And I have a very, very tenuous link to Eurovision, but I think it's worth it to tell the story regardless.
Okay, yeah, I feel like people are I think that's fine, that's acceptable, and as long as there's a very tenuous link beyond just it's pop music, isn't it? Then
well, I mean, you say that. Give it another 3 months of self-isolation. Maybe we'll just go, it's pop music, innit? The podcast's just pop music, innit?
Pop music, yeah. Fair enough.
I really liked that, mate. That was a really good story. I'm very impressed you found that.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah. It was two, as I say, Wikipedia and one blog that pretty much was the whole source of that, which was amazing. But yeah, all proper. There's photos and everything of their house. The house looks lovely. I mean, if that's what Danny wants to do, it does look very beautiful. I'd gladly come visit. So, as long as there's not bandits.
It's the plan in the long run, really.
Yeah,
just go off to Sardinia. Went and stayed in a donkey sanctuary last year, and it was gorgeous. The woman who built it and runs it and has run it for years, her and her husband, she was an architect from the mainland in Italy.
Oh yeah.
Moved over there in the early 90s, built this amazing B&B from literally it was a shed. It was a donkey shed on a big plot of land. And now every day, she's got stuff to do, like she's got a dog and she's got the donkeys and she looks after them. But pretty much every day between the hours of 12 and 3 p.m, she just sunbathes. Just sunbathes, doesn't she? Then she goes and feeds the donkey and she's just got a lovely dog.
That sounds well nice, mate.
It's all right, isn't it?
I'll come visit. I'll come stay in your B&B. That sounds great.
It's going to be my commune.
Oh. All right, then. Well, Isabel, shall we move on to this next bit? To a bloody song.
Yes.
So, as you and I have both been saying, Eurovision is becoming more and more contemporary with artists like Mahmood and Conan Osiris last year. And, just what we were saying last week about how the UK shouldn't really be writing what they think is a Eurovision song, but rather like just a current hit song, regardless of its purpose. So I've been looking at the world outside of Eurovision for inspiration. So I looked at some themes from one of the world's hottest current pop stars, someone who is perhaps at the pinnacle of pop stardom right now, and that is one Billie Eilish.
I love Billie Eilish.
I love Billie as well. Billie with lyrics like, I'm that bad type, make your mama sad type, make your girlfriend mad type, I might seduce your dad type. I've realised that there's a trend, it's just great lines, there's a trend of songs celebrating being bad, difficult, or naughty. So, I've written my...
Billie Eilish is so naughty.
She's naughty.
Naughty girl.
So I've written my own song as well about being rebellious and a bad boy. So this is a song called Irresponsible.
Woman, you don't know, I live my life like a traveling show. There's no start and there's no end. I'll drive you crazy, drive you round the bend. Oh, pretty baby, I'm driving you crazy. I'll be the worst, I'm irresponsible. One day I'll be near, the next I won't be here. I'll be your nightmare, irresponsible. Let's swim straight after lunch, 'cause I'm the bad guy of the bunch. Do my laundry all at once, I just don't care. Money saving's not for me, 'cause I'm just living presently. I keep my planet future free, irresponsibly. Unreliable, it's undeniable. Don't take it personal, I'm irresponsible. And I don't care at all, it's unforgivable. I'm really terrible, I'm irresponsible. Woman, over there, I see you looking, feel your naked stare. Before you approach, I've got to tell you not to get too close. I'm scary and I'm dangerous, you better get courageous. Things can get outrageous irresponsibly. Close my eyes when I'm driving my car, bring my own snacks to the cinema. Baby rules don't apply to me, living dangerously. Drink a bottle of wine on my own, maybe order food on the app on my phone. Spend a lot of money on delivery, irresponsible. Unreliable, it's undeniable. Don't take it personal, I'm irresponsible. And I don't care at all, it's unforgivable. I'm really terrible, I'm irresponsible. I'm the kind of guy who forgets a birthday, thinking it was March when it actually was May. Then I'd realise with a day to spare, I'd buy a nice card and they'd be underwear. So listen real close if you wanna date me. Hope you're ready for a ride, 'cause I'm wild and free. In a zoo you see the lions through a safety glass. Well baby, I'm your lion, here to smash that glass. Unreliable, it's undeniable. Don't take it personal, I'm irresponsible. And I don't care at all, it's unforgivable. I'm really terrible, I'm irresponsible.
Well, that was Irresponsible, a song all about being naughty and bad. Isabel, what did you think?
My cheeks hurt from laughing too much.
You know I like to make you laugh.
Oh my goodness. Well, after a 12-month hiatus, that is exactly what I needed.
Oh, mate. I mean, felt like it was true to myself,
Oh,
it was true to who I am.
It was so Roland Bodnam. Yeah. You could hear it was you a mile away. That has just, honestly, my cheeks hurt so much right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, Billie Eilish, she's quite scary sometimes.
Do you think that was very Billie Eilish?
No. I think it was inspired by, but I didn't want to lie. I didn't want to say like, I'll carry a knife around with me and stuff like that. True to me, like, sometimes when I take my own food into the cinema, I feel...
I almost just spat my wine onto my bed sheets then when you said that. No, it was very you. It was exactly very you. Sometimes you swim after lunch, whatever. Yeah, sometimes you take snacks to the cinema.
Don't care.
Yeah, whatever. I honestly felt quite a pang of guilt when you did the missed birthday piece because I did miss your birthday last month.
Yeah, but that's it. Is that I it's true to myself as well because there are many birthdays that I miss as well, and so it's no, absolutely.
So Roland was in the UK a couple of weeks ago because it was his nan's birthday. And we all went for dinner. There was a group of us that went for dinner because Roland and his wonderful girlfriend Caroline went over. And I got to the bar first. I got there second. After Roland's friend Bob, who I've met many times. Yeah. And so me and Bob were the first ones there. We sat and had a drink and Bob goes, when was the last time I saw you? Maybe it was Roland's birthday last year. And I was like, it was 30th. When we watched Melody Festival and the Swedish Church together. Yeah. And I said, but it's not his birthday this year. It's not why he's here. He's here for his nan's birthday. And Bob went, but it is his birthday. I was like, what? He goes, it was his birthday last week. What? And I'm there madly searching the calendar in my phone. What are you on about?
Mate.
It's right. I forgot, but I looked. Yeah, it definitely is. I looked on Facebook. I then text Hannah, mine and Roland's friend, good friend Hannah, like the third piece of our little puzzle, and said, mate, we missed his birthday last week. We really fucked up. She texts back, I texted him saying happy birthday. Thanks for telling me.
But that's the crazy thing is like that you might say that's being oblivious, but then I'm so oblivious that I didn't even realise that you hadn't said anything. So I was like, I didn't even realise. So it goes both ways, mate. It works both ways.
And I gave you I gave you that £10 that your girlfriend tried to give to me for wine. So it's full fine in the end.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
what about the song,
so back to the song.
Like the song.
Sorry, I love the song. It made me laugh a lot. It's made my cheeks go a bit red, but that might also be the mixture of Bloody Mary and red wine. It's very you. You as an artist really comes out in this song in terms of the lyrically. It made me laugh a lot. The rap, oh my God, of course, after a year you had to put a rap into a song, didn't you? You really missed it.
I missed it, mate. I missed it. I think, because the thing is, like...
What was the bit about the lion again?
In the zoo, they keep the lions behind a safety glass. Well, baby, I'm your lion here to smash that glass. I'm rhyming glass with glass. It's not the best lyrically that I've ever done, but, it gets the sentiment across. I'm not sure Eurovision's ready for a Billie Eilish type. I don't know if they're ready for someone dangerous. So I feel like it's appealing. It might not be dangerous enough. This might be going too far in the other direction.
I think, but, I think this could do quite well. I think you're right. I think Eurovision fans want the Billie Eilishes of this world to get far in Eurovision. But actually, when you look at the kookier entries that are cool and kooky, not pop and kooky, they don't get very far. Actually, a lot of the time they get knocked out at the semi-finals. They don't even make it to the finals in the first place. Yeah. So I think you're right. They're not ready for a Billie Eilish. They are, however, ready for a Johnny English version of Billie Eilish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look at Iceland this year. Like that guy, Danny Freyr, is like one of the sweetest, just like goofy guys out there, and he's in it.
He is in it, exactly. So they like sweet, nice guys. Yeah. I genuinely, nice guys. However silly the lyrics are, I think this could do quite well. I think this would be well loved at Eurovision. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So should we go for a points?
All right.
Now remember we're on. It's 1 to 8, 0 to 8, 10, 12.
Okay.
Oh, what do I do? Do I do a line? Do I say, Isobel,
I don't remember.
what will you give Irresponsible?
Wheat.
8 points. That's pretty good. After a year of being out.
A year out of the game,
very...
you've come in with an 8.
Yeah.
Remember when you used to just get 1s? That was...
All the time, yeah. All the time. That was a rough patch.
No, this made me laugh. The lyrics are smart. They're silly. They're very. It's very likable. It's a very likable song. Whoever sang it, I think this actually. When we've previously talked about how you're not necessarily writing a song for you. You're writing a song for anyone and any nation.
No. Yeah.
Actually, I think you are singing this one, mate. This is your song.
Ooh,
this is your song.
It's in my range.
This is your song,
I can handle it,
I feel like you would get minimum of midway up the left-hand side of the board.
Fucking hell. All right. Maybe I'll spend my isolation doing some choreography and next year. There you go. Done. This one came... That's a good backstory as well, isn't it? In self-isolation. Done.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, in that case, let's finish this episode. Oh no, let's not. Let's ask you to talk to us. So you can reach us if you like the song, if you like the story, or if you just want to talk. You can reach us, and actually, we're probably more likely to reply now than we ever have before.
Highly likely.
Yeah, because we just want to reach out. So you can email us at europhoriapodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can tweet us at EurophoriaCast. And please, please, please do get in touch. As we said earlier, this is tough times for everyone right now. And this is our only way of being able to help in any form. So if it makes you happier to send us an email or a video or your own song or your own funny story, whatever it is, please feel free to send it to us. We read everything, even if we don't mention it on the actual podcast itself. And we will reply to anything that we don't reply to audibly over the podcast too. And also, before we go, my grumpy little Italian boyfriend has finally sent me something nice like what? As he initially put.
Nice like what?
Something nice like what? He's actually written me something that I can say. So I want to end the podcast by saying, Amici italiani, vi siamo vicino, which is Italian friends, we are with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Isobel. It's a pleasure always. And thank you everyone for listening. And we will be back next week. Bye.
Yes, we will. Bye.